Mexico did not win the World Cup. 1 point. However, there was still a success within our culture: unity. I saw Mexico jerseys everywhere in my neighborhood. The elota vendor, and people in Ralph's, and even my brother, who doesn't watch soccer. In a 2026 article for My Modern Men, written by Regina Sinena, explains that Adidas and Somewhere collaborated in 150 artisans from Puebla to hand embroider a special collection of Mexico national team jerseys. These jerseys reflect embroidery commonly found on traditional garments from different regions of Mexico. This collaboration demonstrates how an ancient cultural tradition can remain relevant in modern day life. My connection to Mexican embroidery comes from my own family. My personal experiences wearing traditional clothing and face-to-face interviews with my family. Mexican hand embroidery is more than decoration. By examining its indigenous history, its continued presence in my family and clothing, and its role in modern cultural representation, we can see how every stitch preserves identity, strengthens community, and resists the erasure of Mexican culture. First, I will discuss the indigenous history development of Mexican embroidery. Second, I will explain how this tradition continues through my family and my own clothing. Finally, I will examine how embroidery serves as a form of modern cultural representation. To understand why Mexican embroidery remains so meaningful today, we must first look at where the tradition begins. Mexican embroidery has a centuries-old indigenous history. Mexican embroidery began long before the arrival of Europeans. Pre-Hispanic civilizations, including Maya, Aztecs, and Zapotecs, used tools such as bone needles and cactus thorns to decorate clothing made from native cotton and agave fibers. The designs were not simply decorative. Many represented a community's religious beliefs, natural environment, ancestry, and cultural identity. During the Spanish conquest in the 16th century, Mexican embroidery began to change. Spanish missionaries and craftsmen people introduced steel needles, silk threads, foot-powered looms, and stitching methods influenced by European and Middle Eastern traditions. Instead of abandoning their ancestral crafts, indigenous artisans combined these materials and techniques with their traditional designs. This blending created the distinctive and symbolic embroidery style that continues to represent Mexican culture today. According to my face-to-face interview with Elena Orozco on October 10, 2026, these traditions demonstrate how indigenous communities adapted while continuing to preserve their cultural identity. The tradition developed through Mesoamerica, especially in the areas that are now Mexican states of Oaxaca, Puebla, Yucatan, Chiapas, and Hidalgo. Each region developed its own recognizable colors, patterns, stitches, and symbols. For example, embroidery from one community may feature flowers and animals, while another may have geometrical patterns connected to indigenous history or spiritual beliefs. Today, this culture remains alive through central and southern Mexico. Embroidered garments are still worn in everyday life, like weddings, religious ceremonies, and cultural celebrations. Mexican embroidery is not only a part of the distant past, it continues through families, including my own. The tradition of Mexican embroidery continues through my family and my clothing. My sister studied to become a seamstress in Muna, Yucatan. According to my face-to-face interview with Jennifer Ojeda on October 12, 2026, master artisans continue to pass their knowledge and techniques from one generation to the next. This process allows embroidery to remain a living tradition rather than becoming something that exists in only museums or history books. Today I'm wearing an embroidered dress that takes inspiration from a guayabera, a micro-pleated linen or manta shirt that often includes decorative embroidery. For my birthday, I received a beautiful pink hand-embroidered shirt from my family in Mexico. Although it cost a fortune, its cultural and personal value was even greater. The shirt inspired me to begin wearing more traditional clothing at home. After feeling more connected to my relatives' upbringing, I went shopping for additional traditional clothing at a local garment center in a nearby town. I hope to incorporate more of my culture into my daily clothing and everyday life. Although embroidery connects me to my family, it also provides cultural representation on a much larger scale. Mexican embroidery has become a form of modern cultural representation. Traditional garments such as hipiles have become symbols of cultural pride and resistance to fast fashion. Every embroidered piece requires time, skill, patience, and personal craftsmanship. These garments remind us that clothing can carry history and meaning rather than simply being quickly produced and discarded. When artisans from Puebla hand embroidered the Mexican national team jerseys, they were not simply decorating uniforms. They were carrying an ancient cultural tradition into modern public attention. The collaboration allowed the work of Mexican artisans to be seen by soccer fans and international audiences who might not otherwise be familiar with traditional embroidery. With political tensions rising, I find value in continuing to wear traditional clothing in everyday life because it provides representation. Showing these clothing to people I meet make Mexican culture more visible and familiar. Wearing traditional clothing can communicate pride, preserve cultural memory, and challenge erasure or misunderstanding of Mexican identity. By examining its past, its place with my family, and its appearance in modern culture, we can understand why Mexican embroidery remains so powerful. Mexican hand embroidery is far more than decorative. Its indigenous history shows how artisans preserve their identities through centuries of cultural changes. It continued presence in my family, and clothing demonstrates how traditions are passed down from one generation to another. Finally, its appearance on Mexican national jerseys shows how embroidery continues to represent cultural pride in modern life. I encourage you to learn the history behind traditional garments, recognize the artisans who create them, and support authentic, handmade work whenever possible. Mexico may not have won the tournament, but the embroidered jerseys achieved another kind of victory. It placed the work of indigenous artisans before an international audience. Every time we recognize, wear, and support these garments, we help preserve the history carried in every way.
Hablo de su cultura, de ustedes, de su